During a visitation by the Pope, a businessman approached the Pope and made this amazing offer. He said, if you agree to change the line in the Lord's Prayer from give us this day our daily bread to give us this day our daily chicken, KFC will donate $10 million to Catholic charities. Well, the Pope declined. 2 weeks later, the man approached the Pope again and this time offered $50 million. And again, the Pope declined. A month later, the man came and offered the Pope $100 million. At a meeting, and the Pope accepted it, and at a meeting with his cardinals, the Pope announced the decision in a good news, bad news kind of a way. He said, the good news is we have $100 million for Catholic charities. And the bad news is we lost our Wonder Bread account. Ay, ay, ay. All right then. Well, today we celebrate Father's Day, and we celebrate the wisdom and love that our fathers have for us and our love for them. And we know that everyone has different experiences with their fathers. Some are great, and maybe some were not so much. In the same way, some of us are proud that we were fathers, and some of us may not be so proud of the way that we were fathers. But today we want to give thanks for that divine masculine, that highest principle of godly love, which is the ideal for us, whether we are male or female. And we know that everyone did the best they could. And we know that people generally do the best they could, don't they, in everything that we do. So let's just totally hold the space for and to let go of any thoughts that might keep us from celebrating this divine love for ourselves, for our fathers, for our mothers. And so let's take just a moment, and I invite you, if it's comfortable, just to close your eyes and to contemplate the fatherly love that you have experienced in your life. Maybe from a father or a fatherly figure. And just really focus on the positive way that this love affected you. And in the same way, reflect on the positive aspects of fatherly love that you have been able to share with others. Being present, being loving, giving good advice, being patient. And just hold that for a moment. Thank you, Spirit. And I invite you to bring your awareness back to this moment. And so today we're going to talk about the Lord's Prayer. The Lord's Prayer, I believe, was never really meant to be prayed to a father figure out there. Today I'm going to interpret this prayer based on unity principles and based upon how I suspect Jesus really taught this prayer. And so we see that I believe what he was doing was giving us a model of how we can pray to that fatherly part of ourselves, to open ourselves to the guidance, to the wisdom, to the truth, and to the power of God. And I believe that Lord's Prayer can actually help us experience the kingdom of heaven. And that this prayer is a tool that we can use that is so powerful. And the Lord's Prayer is probably the most powerful of any Christian document or Christian traditions. As a child, I memorized the Lord's Prayer. How many of us memorized the Lord's Prayer when we were children, right? And I remember saying it, going, "My Father who art in heaven," God, and going through it like that without having any idea what I was saying, right? And I think it's so interesting that we have been taught, and we were never, in my opinion, never really taught the essence and the truth and the power that this prayer offers us. And I believe that this prayer is a recipe to help us connect with the presence of God. And in doing so, to access the wisdom that we have in our own beingness. Because really, it's a prayer that Jesus prayed to that fatherly, godly, spiritual aspect within himself. And so he was showing us that we can connect with this presence. And we can bring forth this wisdom and this truth. And that the goal of this prayer was to help us connect with the presence of God within us and within the universe. Don't you know that that's true? So, I believe that Jesus is showing us a doorway with this prayer. And I think it's interesting, and I see it in my own life, that in a sense, I never really, until 20 years ago, really looked at what this prayer means and what does it mean to me, and really looked at the power that it offers me. And I know that those of us who practice this prayer will experience a transformation in our prayer life and our connection with Spirit. And if you are interested, I created a Walk Your Talk, or summary of everything that I talked about today that'll be available after the service, so you can take it home and remember what we talked about. Many of the ideas we're going to talk about today are familiar to me because they are part of the Lord's Prayer, and I'm going to kind of extend it a little bit and give you the metaphysical or the spiritual interpretation for this prayer. And Jesus said, "Therefore, pray like this." And this is from Matthew chapter 6, verse 9. "Our Father in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we also have forgiven our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil." Amen. Did you notice anything different about that prayer? What'd you notice?
How short it is.
There are 7 verses that I just read. There are 8 verses in the prayer that we've learned, but in the way that Jesus taught it, there were actually only 7 verses. And humankind has added the last verse. So the 8th verse is missing. So we'll take each verse today and talk about it a little bit, and then we'll look at the deeper spiritual meaning of it. So, our Father who art in heaven. When Jesus calls God Father, he is demonstrating that he has access to the source of ideas, of creation, the creation of all living things and all objects. And that he has the power to work with this present to bring those things into manifestation. He is saying, essentially, God is the creative source in the universe. And he is demonstrating that we have access to that source. The Anyone know what the Aramaic was the language that Jesus spoke. Does anyone know what the Aramaic word for father is? Papa. Oh, can you imagine Jesus praying, oh, Papa. Does that change things? What does that tell you? It tells you that this is a love that can be shared. He's showing us that we can love this Father image, this Papa. And he's sharing with us that we can also experience that love. Wow, to me that just changes everything. He's showing that God, or Father, isn't just a principle, but it's also an energy that we can connect with and that we can call upon. Have any of you ever experienced that? Right? You know that God is more than just principle. God is principle. Right? God is, when we pray to God, when we open to God, we experience God. We experience the love of God, and that's a principle because it happens all the time, every time. God never withholds love from us. The only thing that keeps us from experiencing the fullness of God is who? Us, right? And so Jesus says, our Father in heaven. Where is heaven? Did Jesus never referred to heaven as being out there someplace. Jesus actually taught that the kingdom is where? It's right here. He said the kingdom is at hand. Does that sound like it's out there? He said it's the kingdom of heaven is right here. My friends, we live in the kingdom of heaven. This is the kingdom of heaven. The Greek word for heaven is expanding potential. It's expanding potential. So when we can live in consciousness in this kingdom of heaven, we are a part of this expanding consciousness, this expanding potential. And that's really what Jesus is saying in this prayer. Ladies and gentlemen, if you want to experience more of God, pray. Because that power and that presence and that creative ability, that love is right here for you. It's the expanding potential. Our Father who art in heaven. So I've kind of boiled this down to mean that our Father in heaven means the loving presence of God expanding in my life. Wow. So we can think of that way when we say, our Father who art in heaven, we're saying the loving presence of God is expanding in my life. Can you see the power in that? Can you see the affirmative potential and affirmative truth that comes through that statement? The loving presence of God is expanding in my life right now. Let's say that together. The loving presence of God is expanding in my life right now. The second verse is, hallowed be thy name. Hallowed has essentially the same meaning as holy or sacred. In the Aramaic tradition, one would make a thing sacred by creating a special place or a holy place for it, and to treat it with reverence. Jesus is saying in this verse, Father, Papa, bless you, your name is special and sacred to me. I create a special place for you. Your essence is powerful and special. Jesus is saying, when we speak God's name, we are connecting with God. When we say the name of God, we are calling upon the forces of the universe and opening ourselves to experience the fullness of these forces. So to me, when we say, hallowed be thy name, we're saying, as I speak God's name, I call forth God's powerful presence. Can you see that? Can you feel that? The third verse is, thy kingdom come. Now the Aramaic word for come includes the idea or the image of a mutual desire, right? It's a place where God's creative energy and our intention come together. So when we say thy kingdom come, we're saying, you know what, I am opening myself up. I am opening my desire to experience more of the fullness of God. So I can totally be present. So I can become a vessel through which the creative fire of God is active in my life. Can you feel that? Wow. To say, you know what, I am opening this up. I am willing to experience the fullness of God. The kingdom has come within me. Here I am. Use me. Use me. I love that. The Ricky Byers-Beckwith song, Use Me, right? It's so much about just opening up and saying, okay. It's really recognizing, what are we here to do? I believe that the reason we're on this planet is to be the fullness and the expression of God. And to be part of experiencing and expressing love on this earthly plane. And we do that by opening up and becoming vessels for the movement of this energy of love. Thus, we're taking the creative potential of heaven and allowing it to move through us in our lives, to flow through us. It's through man, through women, through us, that the ideas in God's mind are brought into expression. We are aspects of God, and we're here to bring the aspects and the essence of God into reality in this world. It's through divine ideas that we co-create with God. So when we say, thy kingdom come, or my kingdom come, we're saying, bring it on, God. Right? Bring it on. I'm here. I want to experience the fullness of it. I don't just want half a cup. I want the whole enchilada, as Wayne Dyer would say. My heart is open to you, to this presence to express fully through me. We're saying, I am a vessel through which God expresses. I am a vessel through which God expresses. Can you feel the power in that? Isn't that what your soul wants? Isn't that the truth and the essence of why we do this work? The loving presence of God is expanding in my life right now. Whisper that to yourself. The loving presence of God is expanding in my life right now. And boom, as soon as we call upon that presence, your spirit within you says, yes! The fourth verse is, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. This is really a statement of surrender and acknowledging of the presence and power of God. And the Aramaic word translated as will is not what we usually think of as will. It's more of a desire for God. Right? So we're saying, my desire is to experience the fullness of God. Means we're saying, God, may your highest desire for me come into my life. May I experience your fullness, your highest idea for my life. When we allow God to guide us, we find that the right doors open. You ever find when you are like totally in your practice, in your consciousness, that things just happen smoothly? You just are in the flow. Ever noticed? So this is what we're saying is like, you know, my will is to experience the fullness of you, so I'm going to look at every moment in my life as an opportunity to be a part of this fullness and to be, just to allow it to flow. I find when I allow it to flow, things go a lot easier than if I fight them. Everybody else ever notice that? You know, my will, our will, I really believe, is to bring the fullness of God into manifestation. And the interpretation I have for this verse is, I let go and know that the highest good is done right now. Feel the power in that. Just to know in any moment, the highest good is done right now. And we can lean into that and absorb that and be a part of that. And this flows naturally into the 5th verse of the Lord's Prayer, which is, give us this day our daily bread. The Aramaic word for bread is, anybody know? Lakma. Somebody said it. It's lakma. And it's really an interesting word. And in biblical times, the word bread, of course, meant food. But when we talked about spiritual food or bread in the spiritual sense, we're talking about understanding, all of the understanding that we need for physical, spiritual, and mental growth. So, give us this day our daily bread. We're saying, okay, I'm open. Let me know whatever it is that I can know to guide me right in this moment. Because we have access, Jesus is saying, we have access to all that power. Look within yourself. Open yourself to the truth that's within you, and you will be set free. Jesus is saying, we have whatever we need. It's right here. Open to it. So the interpretation that I have for this verse is, I have the wisdom, understanding, guidance, and love to handle every situation in my life right now. Just think, if we remember that, if you remember that when you go into a difficult situation, what if you could center yourself in that and say, you know what, I have everything I need. I have the wisdom, I have the power, I have the understanding, I have the guidance, I have the love to handle this situation right now. Is it going to change what you bring to that situation? Of course. The loving presence of God is expanding in my life right now. Let's say that together. The loving presence of God is expanding in my life right now. So this brings us to the 6th verse. And the 6th verse says, and forgive us our debts as we also have forgiven our debtors. This clause really ignites, or really challenges us to step into one of the biggest challenges that some people have in their lives. Which is what? It's forgiveness. You know, Jesus obliges us to declare that we have actually forgiven ourselves, and we've forgiven everybody else. And he invites us to know that our forgiveness isn't dependent on anyone else. And that we can forgive someone they don't even have to know about it. We can forgive ourselves. Really, Jesus' two main teachings were love and forgiveness. This is such a powerful thing because when we don't forgive, we create a wall, right? We're not able to access love because we've stopped it from coming in. So when we can totally be clean, we can be in this powerful place of forgiveness. Jesus reminds us that forgiveness depends on the great cosmic law of cause and effect. And when we forgive, it automatically opens us up to be forgiven. It works two ways. And there's not a whole lot else we have to do. We forgive and we're forgiven. We have to forgive ourselves. We get to forgive everyone that we've ever perceived that has hurt us, to release our resentment and our condemnation. And forgive everyone. And my interpretation for this verse is, as I forgive, I am forgiven. And the seventh and last verse is, lead us not in temptation, but deliver us from evil. This is such a deep verse. Can you imagine God ever leading anybody into temptation? Right? Not the God that I know of. You know, this is probably the least understood verse. You know, in Aramaic, as with New Thought teachings, it reminds us that no outside force can lead us into temptation. No one can do that. No force can do that. Least of all God. And it reminds us that we are responsible for the decisions and the thoughts that we hold in our minds and the decisions that we make. The Aramaic version could be translated into, don't let us enter, or don't allow us to be seduced by appearances. I like to think of it as, don't let me be influenced by fearful or limited thinking. And I've interpreted it this way: fear and limited thinking have no power over me. I behold God's love and express it in everything I do. Fear and limited thinking have no power over me. I behold God's love and express it in everything I do. Does that change your life? To imagine having that sort of imprinted on your glasses, right? So that every situation you go into, you remember, I express God's love wherever I am. The loving presence of God is expanding in my life right now. Affirm this with me. The loving presence of God is expanding in my life right now. So I've created my own version of this prayer, which I invite you to say it along with me. Let's say it together. Loving Spirit, you are the energy of love that is active in my life. As I speak your name, I call forth your powerful presence. I am a vessel through which you express. I let go and know that the highest good is manifesting right now. I have the wisdom, understanding, guidance, and love to handle every situation in my life. As I forgive, I am forgiven. Fear and limited thinking have no power over me. I behold God's love and express it in everything I do. Amen. I invite you to close your eyes. Breathing in and breathing out. And bring your breath and the awareness of your breath into your heart. Knowing that the presence of God is working in and through us right now as we remember our fathers today. As we remember the people who inspired our lives and were fatherly figures to us. And let's send out to them the energy of love, reaching across this planet out into the universe. Giving thanks for all the positive ways that they have affected our lives. And we give thanks in the same way for the positive and wonderful ways that we have been there for others, to be vessels of truth and love and wisdom. As we've called upon the masculine energy of spirit that is available to us. We breathe in and breathe out. And let's take just a moment to join together in the silence. I am a vessel through which God expresses. Loving Spirit, you are the energy of love that is active in my life. As I speak your name, I call forth your powerful presence. I am a vessel through which you express. I let go and know that the highest good is manifesting right now. I have the wisdom, understanding, guidance, and love to handle every situation in my life. As I forgive, I am forgiven. Fear and limited thinking have no power over me. I behold God's love and express it in everything I do. Well, I invite you now to prepare your love offerings. And there's an envelope in around your chair someplace, and thank you for placing your offering in it. You can leave your offering either on your chair Oh, actually, we have ushers that'll come around. Our board members will come around in just a moment. I'll give you just a minute to prepare. And I want to thank all of you who are here today, and thank you for your gifts. We are very blessed during this time of COVID that we were able to maintain financial security thanks to the continuing gifts of many of you and others who love this ministry so much. And I feel so blessed that we're coming back with excitement and a new feeling. So hold your gifts for just a moment before you collect any more. Let's say our affirmation of prosperity. So as you're holding your gifts, let's affirm together our affirmation of prosperity. Let me just grab this here. There we go. And let's say it together. Through a grateful, giving heart, my mind and life overflow with the abundance of God's all-providing, infinite supply. And so it is. God bless. We give thanks for these gifts that have come to us in love. We hold them, we bless them, we give thanks for them. And we know that they move through this ministry, across this island, and out into the world. And we behold a world filled with light, with peace, with joy, and with love. And so it is. Namaste. So today's roses are offered by Michelle and Mike. Wow, they are so beautiful. And the fun part of all of that is that everyone will be able to take a rose home with them tonight to remember Father's Day, and it is their gift of love to you. So they'll be available, I think, by the back door. Is that where you want to do it, Mike?
Sure.
Okay. As you leave today. And again, I want to thank all the people who came and helped us get going today. Coco and Kathleen showed up early, and they're there. They stood up so we'd applaud for them. Coco came not knowing exactly what we were going to call upon her to do today, which was to run our soundboard and the video camera. But thank you, Coco, for your good work. We love you and bless you and appreciate you. And Kathleen and Coco's off to work now, so bless you both. And again, thanks to Mike and Emily and Kurt. Oh, you're not going to leave them for us? Oh, Mike is so good. Okay. Nobody leaves without a rose today. Okay, we have a test for you. Looking at this, does anyone know what this symbolizes or what this means? Big prize. Yes.
New curtains in the bathroom.
Oh, yes. This is. You are the big winner. We have many, many prayers for you, and they'll be flowing out from this moment on. So, well, thank you. And Emily, yes, made new curtains in for our restroom. Please step in and check them out. Oh, wow. If we didn't burn them, I'd show you the curtains that we took down. They were probably been there for 90 years or so, but they kind of looked like I can imagine our American flag did after going through the Civil War. So thank you, Emily, for upgrading our bathroom. And let's see, next week, my talk is titled, Thank You for Helping Me to Be More Loving, Healing Ourselves and the World with Ho'oponopono. This will be the fourth and final talk that I'm doing on Ho'oponopono. It's an amazingly, relatively simple process but powerful in that it connects us with ourselves and with all life. And it's been used in Hawaii for years. And from what I understand, each of the islands had their own version of Ho'oponopono. And so next week we're going to look at giving thanks for the people that help us on our spiritual journey. You have any of those? And so it'll be kind of fun because it'll be both the people that we really are grateful for and the ones that we're really grateful for. If you know what I mean. So, and there is a sign-up sheet out on the lanai, and please sign up early. I think we had 15 people sign up at the end of the service last week, and of course we got a number of calls, and then yesterday we filled up and we had to turn some people away. So you have the pleasure of being here present, so you get first dibs on a seat next week. And those of you watching us on Facebook and YouTube, call Emily at 808-268-8310, and you can make your reservations for next week. And if it gets to a point where we're filling up every week, we'll expand and do another service. It's what we love to do. So thank you. Let's see, what else do we have here? Oh yes, we are anticipating that we are going to be needing a shuttle to carry us back and forth from the county building, where lots of us will park when we are back in and having need for a shuttle. So far we've reached $7,000 of our $10,000 goal, and it would be great to go over that because you know what the prices are of cars right now. So it'd be great to go over that and be able to pay cash for something. So thank you for your donations, both from you here and out in virtual land. And you can always send those to Unity Church of Maui at 483 South High Street in Wailuku. All right, and you may have noticed you can also watch it on Facebook Live. That we are broadcasting there right now. But I kind of think it's kind of fun to be here, isn't it? Yeah. Do you all enjoy being here live? So thank you for that. But if you're feeling like it's one of those mornings where you just want to sip your coffee on your couch, we honor that as well. I'm thinking about, we think we should get ourselves a couch, don't you think?
Sure.
So we could relax when nothing's going on.
A fold-out.
A fold-out one, yes. And some coffee too. Yes. Hey, you just never know what might happen around here, So, and also our videos are available on YouTube, and lots of music and past Sundays. And I do have a Ho'oponopono meditation that's up there that just has over 200 views. So check that out. It kind of apply the principles that we are practicing in our Ho'oponopono lessons. And I think that's just about it. Yes? Oh, thank you very much. Diane reminds me that our prayer chaplains will be available for you after the service. They'll be hanging around and very aware of this area right here. So please come out after the service and they will be happy to pray with you in a secure and confident way, and to share their light and their consciousness with you. So thank you for that. And if you're out there, you can always call our prayer chaplain line at Unity Church of Maui, and our prayer chaplains will return your call and pray with you. So speaking of prayer, what do you say we end in prayer? Shall we do that? Yes. So why don't we stand up? This is an old tradition here in Unity Church of Maui. And let's take a deep breath. And with conviction, with sincerity, with a little bit of enthusiasm, and with power, let's affirm together our prayer for protection, which begins. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. And the presence of God watches over us wherever we are. God is. God bless you, friend. Thank you, Kurt. Mahalo and aloha.
Where I live, they're all raised